Hello everybody, it is Nicole from eKiwi and welcome to another art review video. So the product that we are reviewing today are the Colorit watercolor brush pen set. As a disclaimer, I did receive these items for free in exchange for my honest review, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is a set of 24 watercolor brush pens, and the first thing that I noticed is that the box is very nice, and on the back side, which I forgot to show, but I'll leave it in my blog, so if you guys want to look at it in detail, I'll leave a link down below. And on the back side, it has each color and the name that it goes with. It also has different numbers, so for example, the first one, Regal Red, is C183. These water brush pens are refillable, so if you guys ever needed ink for them, you know what number specifically you would need for the refill ink. So on the back it says that this watercolor brush pen set has 24 colored brush pens with a travel case, a flexible brush tip for fine or bold strokes, refillable ink for non-stop creativity, odorless and non-toxic, water-soluble dye-based ink, and washable off skin and clothes. So the very first thing that I noticed when I opened it was it did come in a very nice travel case. It is extremely high quality and it's very handy for traveling, especially if you want to bring all your colors. It has a place for each color and you can even switch it out for other materials that you want to use. So inside, the pens are laid 12 on each side, and I left them in the order that they were sent to me in so that you know what colors I'm associating them with when it comes to the names. On one end there is the brush tip, and then the other end it says there is a close and open for the ink, and I believe this is where you insert more ink in. I did not receive any refillable ink, but I know you can purchase it on colorit.com. I'll leave a link down below. I think this is a really good idea. It's similar to Copic markers where you can refill the ink instead of buying new ones, and I think it just increases the longevity of your pens. So my first impression of the pen is that it is very high quality. The cap is really nice and the tip is a very nice sharp point. It's flexible, but also not too flexible. And like the box claims, it is in fact odorless. I can't smell anything from it. And it is water soluble. So this set retails for $29.99 on their website, and I think that's a fairly affordable price for something that you're getting of high quality. You would also never have to buy this set again because they are all refillable, so you can just buy the ink for it and then you're set. So here I'm testing out the colors, and my first impression are the colors are very vibrant and pigmented. As a side note, I am using the Canson watercolor paper if you guys want to use that as a reference. Another thing that I noticed were the colors were actually all different from each other. Sometimes I'll get a set where the colors are similar, or at least some of the colors are very similar, but this one, each one is very different from each other, and they seem to match the colors on the backside. The lightest colors from my testing were the light blue, which is Bashful Blue, and then the yellow, which is called Daydream Yellow. When it came to blending, I found that most of them did blend with itself when I added water. However, there were some colors that didn't really blend even after I added a lot of water. So as you saw in the beginning, I kind of tested it out first. The first one, I did a lot of color and then I added in my own water, and I did this immediately after. But for the next ones, I decided to test out how long I had to wait before it would blend, and I added the color at the top and then I would add water to blend it out. For all the colors on the top half up until the moss green, which is called Optimal Olive, they all blended fine, and I think that even after waiting and adding water, it blended perfectly fine. However, when it came to this color, the Optimal Olive, after putting the color down and then adding water to it, the line that I made from, I guess, like swatching the color stayed there, and it was a very defined line. It wasn't even blurred a little bit. I noticed that this happened to another color called Deep Blue, which is the second one on the left at the bottom row, and also the next one, Nifty Navy. And then it also happened to the Laid Back Lavender, which is the purple before the pink, and the Hardy Brown, which is the last color. I did notice that these colors that had this kind of defined line were a little bit darker, but I don't think that it takes away from it, because I think if you blend it right away or you mix it with another color, then it will blend fine. But for this test specifically, it didn't seem to blend as well. However, I did use all these colors, except for the purple, inside of my painting. So going to the drawing, I did sketch this out ahead of time just because I am reviewing the colors and the pens more so than just me sketching. The color scheme that I decided to use was kind of like a citrusy one, so I stuck with the colors red, orange, yellow, and green, and then for our pants I just used a blue. So I started off with the skin, and the skin color that I could get closest was Positive Peach, which is the peachy color after the black. This color is actually really light, but if you add enough of it, then it will show up kind of more pink than a skin tone. So in order to balance that out, I used a lot of water just to kind of dilute it. And then I started shading it with the next color over, which is called Sweet Ginger, which is more of a brown. The reason why I didn't use this for the skin color is because it looks more of like a terracotta, like a clay red, instead of a light brown. So instead I used this color to shade and then just give a little bit more dimension to the skin itself. For the hair, I used this yellow orange, which is called Trusty Tangerine, and I use this as the base, so I kind of just flicked on some color and left in some white. So then when I went over it in water, it kind of left this highlight that was automatically transformed when I added water to it. If I wanted to, I should have done a gradient almost, like adding the yellow in first and then adding the tangerine color afterwards, and then when I blended it with the water, it would have given a little bit more of a gradient to the hair. But I still like how the hair turned out. After that, I used the orange color, which is called Outspoken Orange, and then I also layered Witty Raspberry, which is this coral red color on top of it. I use these colors because they are relatively similar, and then when I layered them, they kind of melded into the same color family. And this is also how I added dimension to the piece, by giving it a little bit more depth when it came to the color instead of using the same color over to shade. For her lips, I used the coral red and the orange together just to create this kind of lip color that's not exactly the raspberry color but not the orange color either. And then for her shirt, I decided to use 3 different colors and make it kind of a gradient. So I used the green, which is called Grounded Green. Then I used the very yellow green called Luxurious Lime. And then I used Daydream Yellow, which is the yellow. So the reason why I did this was, 1, I wanted to test out how they blended together, and 2, I didn't want it just to be a flat color. So first what I did was added the green at the very top, and then just kind of left flick marks at the bottom where I wanted to gradient it. And then in between I added the lime color, and then at the bottom I added the yellow color. And at first I didn't fill in some parts of the white just because I wanted to see if it would blend together with the pigment already there. But I found out that you have to add pigment there if you want it to blend. So I added in the lime color in the remaining spots, and then after adding all the water, and if there's any defined lines, I would use the pen again, maybe in the yellow or whatever color I thought needed to be more vibrant, and I went over it again. I used the Regal Red, which is this dark red, for her tank top underneath, and then I used the deep blue for her pants. Coloring the pants were a little tricky because this was one of the colors that didn't really blend very well when I swatched it. It was one of those that left a definitive line, and you can kind of see it in this drawing. When I first add the color, I don't add it everywhere, and then I tried to blend it out with the water, but it didn't really budge. However, I did find that if you swipe the color wherever you want it and then immediately go over it in water and kind of blend it out, then it blends out. So I tried this with the pants, and then I tried to add this almost washed out faded color effect to it, and I think that it worked out pretty well. So lastly, what I did was I actually used the watercolor brush pens and I outlined the entire thing. My original plan was to use fine liners, but I wanted to use something that was colored to kind of mimic the style that I've been using in my digital art. So instead of using a thick black line, I decided to just use the pens that it came with, and they actually worked out very, very well. The only downside I would say is that when I used the black on the eyes and then I tried to add a blush color, I accidentally swiped the eyes with water and then it bled onto it, so it's almost like she's crying mascara. But I was able to fix it enough so you wouldn't really see it. So I guess the only downside to using these as the liners is that if you get water on it, it's probably going to wash away. So my overall impression of this is that they are very high quality products and they work very well. I really enjoyed using them. I thought that they blended really easily and I really like the colors. There's a good range of colors and they are so vibrant and pigmented. I also like that the pen tip is flexible enough to be used as a brush, but also thin enough to be used as almost like a liner. I definitely recommend these for someone that wants to use something that's watercolor but also kind of portable and doesn't have to deal with the whole watercolor palette. These are also good for beginners who want to just try something that's watercolor or water based and try their hand at it. I do think that Color It, the website itself, focuses on adult coloring books, so I believe that these are used for that. But of course they are not solely used for that, so you can use them for whatever you want, and I will definitely be using them for future projects. So that about wraps up this art review. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful. I really enjoyed using these pens, and let me know if there's anything else that you guys want me to review in the future. All the links will be found down below in the description, and I'll also have the picture of the backside on my website, ekiwi.com, if you guys are curious. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Keep drawing, keep painting, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!